Good morning. I would like to welcome all persons to this information session. I'm just going to give persons a few seconds to get settled before we get underway. Okay, if the audience can hear me, can I see by thumbs up or some signal that everything is okay on your end, that you're hearing me? Okay, fantastic. Good morning again to those persons who are in a different time zone. Good afternoon. I want to welcome you to this informative session. It's titled Tools for Food Safety and EU Compliance in the Caribbean. And this is a wonderful Ash Wednesday morning for those persons who are celebrating Lent and those persons who would have participated in the various carnivals. We are grateful for your participation, and we hope this is the start of something special. As the start of Lent, let's hope this information session provides some serious and insightful ways for you to be able to access overseas markets. Ultimately, that's what we're looking at. We want to facilitate trade. And in most cases, there's a challenge with persons having an understanding of market entry requirements and general food safety requirements across the globe. Today, we want to highlight two information products or two mechanisms that will allow us to have information regarding food safety requirements and generally be able to navigate the requirements for the EU market. So I'm pleased to have two of my esteemed colleagues on board, Dr. Janet Lawrence and Dr. Andrea Bernal. It is hoped that we can have a really fruitful discussion with you. It's going to be interactive, where we open our mics during the question and answer period and get feedback from you, and you're able to interact with the presenters. Let me start off by introducing myself. My name is Allister Glean. I am the representative in Barbados for the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture. And this information session is going to be hosted by IICA and COLEAD. And I will ask my colleague from COLEAD to share a few remarks shortly. But let me say, as I said, we're all about focusing on enhancing trade. And we want to provide opportunities for our agri-exporters to access the various markets that are out there, not just in the region, but primarily we want to focus on the EU market. Interestingly, a number of persons often come to us and say they are interested in accessing the EU market, but they are unaware of the requirements for entry. It is hoped that when we share some of these tools, this will provide some insight into how to better access these markets, particularly with respect to the food safety requirements. Some persons may say, information is out there. We already have the information, but there are a lot of persons who don't have the information. And we still have the view that information is power. And if we give persons access to this information, it will put them on a better footing to be able to produce and access the various markets that are out there. And I want to particularly thank COLEAD for collaborating with IICA. This is a partnership that we've established since 2021, and this would have been initiated by my predecessor, Mrs. Ina Harvey, and Ms. Isolina Boto, previously of COLEAD. They would have come together and recognized the value of IICA and COLEAD working together for the benefit of agribusiness players, not just in the Caribbean, but in Africa, the Pacific, and the EU. And as I said, the partnership with COLEAD is critical and very much valued by IICA, not only to look at information such as this, but we have an agribusiness series, and we're also going to explore other areas going forward. I promised my colleague Nina I would not spend much time talking, so let me move forward. And I just want to ask her to come in and say a few words. Let me introduce Nina to you all. Now, Nina is the project officer at COLEAD. She is responsible for networks and alliances, and she develops and coordinates global partnerships to support entrepreneurship development and sustainability in the agri-food sector across the global south countries. She co-organizes agri-food webinars aimed at showcasing innovations of farmer-led businesses and SMEs with key international partners such as our institute, IICA. Nina holds an MSc in Environmental Science for Sustainability from the King's College in the UK and a BSc in Public Administration from Erasmus University in Rotterdam. She is an advocate for sustainable development, international cooperation, and climate justice, working to promote resilient and inclusive solutions for communities and food systems worldwide. I want to invite Nina to share a few words from COLEAD before we move forward in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Allister. Good morning and good afternoon to those joining us from different time zones, and a very warm welcome to everyone. I am pleased to be co-organizing today's webinar with Allister, and I would like to thank you all for taking the time to attend this session. So as Allister mentioned, I am Nina Desanlis-Perrin, Project Officer at COLEAD, based in Brussels, Belgium. So COLEAD is a non-profit association that has been working for over 50 years to support sustainable and inclusive agricultural and food systems. Our work focuses on strengthening the competitiveness, resilience, and sustainability of agri-food value chains, particularly in countries across the Global South. COLEAD manages and implements several programs, including the Fit for Market Plus. This program supports the horticultural sector in member countries of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States. It aims to strengthen the capacity of smallholders, farmer groups, and horticultural small and medium enterprises to access domestic, regional, and international markets through sustainable intensification, while helping stakeholders adapt to evolving challenges, including climate change. In this context, COLEAD has partnered with IICA for several years now across a range of activities, which include our famous Caribbean Agri-Food Business Series, which is a series of online webinars showcasing the innovations and successes of Caribbean farmer-led businesses and SMEs. Today's webinar reflects this strong collaboration between regional and international partners working to support the Caribbean agri-food sectors. Through partnerships such as the one between COLEAD and IICA, we aim to facilitate knowledge sharing, provide technical support, and promote practical tools that respond to real needs on the ground. The Caribbean agri-food and fisheries sectors play a vital role in food security, economic development, employment, and trade across the region. However, these sectors operate in a global environment where food safety requirements and regulatory standards continue to evolve, making access to reliable information and practical support increasingly important. So the session will present digital tools designed to support stakeholders in strengthening food safety systems and staying informed about regulatory developments relevant to international trade. So we are very pleased to have such a diverse audience joining us today, including representatives from public institutions, private sector operators, technical experts, and development partners, with a high number of participants based in Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Barbados, Belize, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Your participation demonstrates a shared commitment to strengthening food safety systems and promoting sustainable trade across the Caribbean region. Thank you once again for joining us today, and we look forward to a very productive session. I would like to remind everyone that you should keep your microphone and camera off. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar where you will be able to unmute yourself and ask questions directly. It's also important to note that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. Voilà. Thank you, Allister. I give you back the floor.
Thank you very much, Nina. That saves me from doing some of my housekeeping rules. I just want to add one. Please, when you want to speak, raise your hands. Once you're acknowledged, then you can unmute your mic and speak. And please close your mic once completed. So let's get started. It's going to be an exciting session. We see the numbers going up. We're really happy for your participation. So let me move forward. As I said, we have two presenters today. We have Dr. Janet Lawrence and we have Dr. Andrea Villarreal. And we're going to hear, first of all, from Dr. Janet Lawrence. And Dr. Janet Lawrence is in the office here with me. Dr. Lawrence is an international specialist for the Caribbean in the Agricultural Health, Food Safety and Quality Program at IICA. She's an agricultural research and development professional with considerable technical and administrative experience working in the agriculture sector in the Caribbean for over 25 years. As a technical professional, she has worked to develop sustainable crop production systems and crop protection strategies for a wide range of tree, vegetable, and root and tuber crops. In addition, she has worked on developing safeguarding strategies for plant health systems and also facilitated the development of modern agricultural health and food safety systems for improved sanitary and phytosanitary compliance by the CARIFORUM region. What I should also add is that Dr. Lawrence has been instrumental in leading a number of EU-funded SPS-related interventions in the region. I think she has been a guru and a stalwart in advancing the condition of SPS in the Caribbean region. So I want to now pass the mic to Dr. Lawrence and ask her to deliver her presentation. Dr. Lawrence?
Good day, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. First of all, let me thank my colleagues from COLEAD and IICA for this opportunity to present at this very important webinar. The objective of my presentation today is just really to highlight a few useful tools that have been developed to assist public health and public sector, I should say, and private sector stakeholders to improve food safety systems in the region. And what I'll attempt to do is just do a little stage setting, but I want to highlight, number one, a planning tool developed by IICA and PAHO that has been applied to the region. And then I also want to mention 3 information repositories that have been designed over the past 5 years, focusing on food safety. 2 are ongoing, as I said, over the past 5 years, and one of them is a pipeline project that is happening now. So that in itself, I will call a teaser, and then we'll wrap it up, okay? So what we're seeing globally, as you all know, is that there is great emphasis on improving food safety systems along the supply chain. And this is related to a number of reasons, in that we are having is based on consumer expectations, which are dynamic, and consumers are more health conscious and want to understand that the food that they are consuming is safe. There's greater scrutiny at the regulatory level. There is greater complexity and fragility of the supply chains. And of course, industry priorities are evolving, and we are seeing the use of more technologies. And all of this means that we have to have access to appropriate planning and information tools, both for public sector and private sector, to respond to these global trends. So one of the first tools I want to speak to you on is the IICA PAHO, what is called the Performance Vision and Strategies tool for National Food Safety Services. And what this tool does is more than a management tool, planning tool, but it is one that contributes to building a modern and resilient food safety system. What the tool actually does, it evaluates the performance of the national food control system, and then creates a shared vision with public and private sector in terms of how should the national food safety system function in the future, and then collectively come up with a strategy for this to happen. So what are some of the areas that are measured with this tool? The technical capability of the system that looks at inspection services, surveillance, laboratory techniques. Where does the system fall? It also looks at the capacity of the human resources, as well as the capacity to attract financial resources to modernize the system. How does the system interact with private sector to ensure that their needs are being fulfilled? And the capacity of the system to protect public health and navigate the requirements of the trade environment. And so when this assessment is done, what it does, it allows you in all of these 4 categories to see the relative performance of the national system against global benchmarks. Once the performance is assessed, then we come to the nitty-gritty, where we bring public and private sector persons together to brainstorm and create a vision. And the outcome of this is that we are able to have a strategic plan which will assist the national system to meet international benchmarks, and at the same time ensure that there is strong protection of the health of consumers, that the food along the supply chain is safe, and that we are able to still compete in regional and international markets by being able to convey and assure our trading partners that our sanitary conditions are good. And so we have been utilizing this tool across the Caribbean for the past 10 years. As recent as last year, we applied this tool in 5 countries to help countries to have a roadmap to meet the emerging issues that are facing us globally as it relates to food safety. We recognize, of course, that apart from the planning tools, what is important is for us to have information repositories, as Allister would have mentioned before in his opening remarks, that allow us to have reliable, accurate information. And one of the things that we know, especially for smaller businesses, is that sometimes it's difficult to navigate so many places to find the information that you need. Because we know that having the right information, it has to be timely. If you don't have it on time, it can affect business operations as well as, of course, livelihoods. And so what I want to highlight are 2 tools that we are currently utilizing in the region. The first is the Caribbean Safety Information Portal, which was developed through an IICA project under the Agricultural Health and Food Safety Program with a colleague, Dr. Lisa Harinanan, who is based in Trinidad, and myself. And this was launched in 2022. And what it is an information portal that has over 250 resources of some of all the ABCs of food safety. So it has the basics, it has information on food safety culture, it has information on national regulatory frameworks within the region, very specific to Caribbean, and laboratory testing. And of course, this information is in a wide range of formats in terms of videos and articles and manuals and training courses. And the system is very, very easy to navigate, scrolling horizontally to the various tabs that takes you to the specialized topics. But you can also scroll vertically to obtain the same information. Very easy to navigate. And what we have been able to do is that for each resource, there is a small summary of what the article or the manual, what the resource will do for you. What is the objective of the resource? What is the content profile? So it allows you therefore to navigate and say, okay, this is something I would want or not, and go to the next resource. And so what we have found is that we have had businesses using this information portal. And I wanted to share with you a testimonial from Rachel Renee Gonzalez from Market Movers, who comes out of Trinidad. And one of the things she had said to me is that this website has helped her to grow her product portfolio by over 500%, based on the use of the templates and the articles and the information, the training materials. But in addition, Rachel is a trainer and consultant, and has used this resource. And most recently, she would have used it to assist 25 entrepreneurs with developing their food safety systems. The second tool I wanted to highlight is the Fisheries Food Safety Hub, which was developed under the 11th EDF SPS Measures Project and is managed by the Caribbean Regional Fisheries Mechanism. The Fisheries Food Safety Hub is, as it says, it's all things fish. And it's a very specialized hub in that the materials here are training materials, manuals, videos that have been designed specifically for the Caribbean context. And so we have a wide range of information sources in this portal, which persons along the fisheries value chain are encouraged to use to improve their knowledge in food safety, but in addition, to be able to understand the measures that are needed by our trading partners to successfully export fish in these territories. We have had a 38% increase in the use of this portal as of the end of last year, which is wonderful. How is the information presented? It is presented along the entire value chain. So if you want information on pre-harvest, then it's very simply set out that you click on it and all the resources come up. If it is that you want to search by format, information format, you're also able to do that. And what we have are direct downloads of manuals and the videos presented. And what is very unique about this portal as well is that it provides statistics, fishery statistics for territories in the Caribbean. And the CRFM has done an excellent job in terms of maintaining and updating this portal. In terms of a testimonial, the former chair of the Caribbean Network of Fisherfolk Organizations, Mr. Adrian LaRoda, has complimented the hub, indicating that it's a rich resource to be able to disseminate this key information to the membership of the CNFO as well as wider stakeholders. What is also important is that this hub is also linked to the CNFO's Leadership Institute. And so therefore it has a wide reach. The last tool I wanted to highlight is a pipeline tool developed under the EU Food Security SPS Measures Project, which we hope to launch in the next 2 months. So as I say, this is a teaser. This hub is being developed in collaboration with the CRFM, CAFSA, and IICA. And what this hub is going to do is it's going to serve as a centralized reference and capacity building platform to support the removal of SPS bottlenecks in the region and create a more harmonized and responsive SPS system. And all of this, of course, aligns under the EU Food Security Program, which is seeking to help the region to meet its targets of reducing the food import bill by 25% by 25+5. And so this repository will provide information on plant health, animal health, and food safety, and carry the same wide scope suite of information as it relates to the regulatory environment, technical guidance and reference materials, capacity building materials, institutional resources, and tools to support enforcement of SPS controls. What it will do is that it will provide, as I said, a centralized resource. So the other information tools I would have spoken to you before will be able to be found under this portal as well. And we'll have other portals highlighted or also present on this hub, including COLEAD's Agrinfo, which you will hear from in a little while, which is a critical resource for us as we expand our markets to the European Union. So what are some of the takeaways I want to highlight? As we move into another phase of modernizing our food safety systems, it is critical for us to have information and planning tools, use information and planning tools in the design and the implementation of our food safety systems. This is the only way we will ensure that we have systems that allow us to produce safe foods that will allow us to ensure the health of the consumer is protected and navigate the trade space. But one of the things I want to highlight is that many times our information portals are funded by projects, so they have a life. And the only way many times we can sustain them is to show that there is usability, it's useful, there's a demand-driven, that the information there is demand-driven, to be able to get the funding to sustain these portals. So I'm encouraging you today, as you hear from me and as you hear from my colleague who is going to speak after this, that you will utilize these tools. And in addition, provide feedback to us so that we know how useful the information is, what else you may want to see, and in addition, how has the information impacted on your operations? So we look forward to hearing from you during the question and answer. And once again, just encouraging you to use these resources. Thank you very much. Over to you, Allister.
Janet, I want to thank you for that presentation and applaud the delivery. I think you gave us some meaningful information. A key takeaway for me is what you close off with saying, that we really want to ensure that these tools can guide us in terms of the receipt of information to ensure that we have safer foods that can ensure the health of our consumers. And as you stress, to navigate the trade space. Ultimately, we want to be able to access markets in a more meaningful manner. And in your closing, the focus on sustainability and the fact that our platforms must be usable. We really want to encourage persons. I take up your appeal to use the platforms and ultimately give us feedback. Is it working? Is it making sense? Because a number of times we develop tools and we don't get the feedback. We don't know where there's need for adjustment and amendment. So I want to really thank you for presenting the information. It was a lot, and I want to appeal to persons. Go back to the recording, share the information with your colleagues, share the information with other stakeholders, with your networks, so we can get buy-in, that we can get the usefulness of the tools that were shared. So Janet, thank you. And I want to appeal again to persons, hold your questions, take note of them, or place them in the chat. But at the end of the second presentation, we'll allow you to present your questions to the persons that have shared with us this morning. I want to move on quickly to our next presenter. Our next presenter is Dr. Andrea Villarreal from COLEAD. And as I introduce Andrea, I want you all to know that she is the specialist in international relations at COLEAD with a doctorate in international law. She has more than 20 years of professional experience in international trade, standardization, regulation, partnerships, and multilateral cooperation. Andrea has led programs and strategic partnerships in the context of international organizations, particularly with the WHO, UNCTAD, ILO, etc. And in the Mexican government, in the Ministry of Economy specifically, she was Director for International Standardization from 2011 to 2013, and she was also the chair of the Codex Committee for Fresh Fruits and Vegetables. Now, at the ISO, as the Membership and External Relations Manager, she led the organization's relations with organizations such as the WTO, the OECD, and UN agencies. And previously, she was also an advisor to ISO's Deputy Secretary General. Now, Dr. Villarreal brings a wealth of experience, as I would have shared, and I think she's well positioned to share with us this particular platform that has been developed by COLEAD Agrinfo. I think it's going to add significant value to our export efforts, and generally, as Janet would have shared before, to ensure safer food for our consumers. Let's welcome Dr. Villarreal. You have the floor. Please proceed.
Thank you, Allister. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and hopefully everything will go well. I don't know, what's a little bit slow. Okay, there we go. Finally. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about Agrinfo, which is a tool for the agri-food sector. It's a platform, a little bit as what Janet was explaining before. It's a little bit similar. So Agrinfo, as you know, it's implemented by COLEAD and it's financed by the European Union. So let's start with Agrinfo and why Agrinfo exists, why we need to have this platform. So as most of you might know, the European Union has this policy called the Green Deal, which tries to make food system healthier for humans, but also more sustainable for the people, the planet, and animals. And this means that the legislation is changing, it's evolving, and so therefore we need new rules that are already there but might become stricter, and the demand for information for those wanting to sell to the European Union is increasing. So Agrinfo comes in here because we are an information system. We're a platform that provides information about these changes on the legislation of the European Union that affect the agri-food sector. As well, I'm not going to talk about COLEAD because Nina already did, but as mentioned before, the program is implemented by COLEAD, and our audience, the people that we are trying to reach out, is governmental authorities, producers and exporters organizations, producers, exporters, farmers, mainly from low and middle income countries. So how we do this? We calculate that the European Union either introduces new legislation or modify existing one around 180 of these changes per year. It's a lot to follow up, and for one person, it can be very tricky and time consuming and even frustrating. And the other thing that we monitor these changes to ensure that we know exactly everything that is changing every single day. And then we consolidate it. The European Union is a very transparent organization, but because of the way it's structured, sometimes you find information in the EFSA webpage and another one in the European official journal, and maybe other in the Commission specific topic. So it's also difficult to be sure that you have all the information, even if it's there, that you have all the information that you need. So we consolidate all of that information in one web page that I will show you. And lastly, what we do is we simplify. So we read these regulations, directives, these rules, and we turn them into summaries, and we provide them in a clear, simple, and concise language so that people can understand what is changing, why is changing, by when is going to change, which are the products that are affected, and what are the implications for me as an exporter. The main idea at the end of the day is that the trade flow is not interrupted. Because as you know much better than I do, once that happens, it's very difficult to get your customer back. So I'm going to give you a little bit of information. Probably you already know about this, about the exports of the Caribbean towards the European Union, to give us an idea of the things that you deal with and the kind of information that we can find in Agrinfo. So the Caribbean trade with the European Union is around 600 million, and it's a fraction, it's a very small fraction of 1.5% of the total value of trade between South America and the European Union. This trade is dominated by the Dominican Republic with 73% of the share, and Cuba is the second one, although there is quite a big difference in there of 23%. The main exports from the Caribbean to the European Union are rum and taifa, raw cane sugar, tropical fruits, dried nuts and spices, and cocoa beans. So there are some countries, and I'm going to give two examples here, which are very dependent on their trade with the European Union. So for example, in the case of Belize, agricultural products make 93% of its total good exports to the European Union. And these exports are dominated by basically two commodities, raw cane sugar and bananas, which means that if there's a regulatory change that affects any of those, and for whatever reason, the exporters and the producers do not realize, the economical impact and the economical implication in the country or in certain communities within the country would be huge. Another one is Jamaica, in which rum represents around 50% of the overall agri-food trade, and they provide 50% of all the rum that is consumed in the European Union. So as mentioned before, it's very important that the trade flow of these products is not interrupted, but also, since we're here, to explore market for other products that some of you might already be producing, but not exported or exported in small quantities, and that quantities could be increased. What kind of information do you find in Agrinfo? So I told you about this little summaries that we do. I will show them to you in a minute, but some topics that will be interesting for the region are, for example, that there are stricter import rules for ginger and turmeric because of this bacterium Ralstonia pseudosolancerum. I'm sorry, I'm not a scientist. And for citrus fruits coming from Latin America and the Caribbean because of this pest that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. And for example, another thing that could be interesting for you is that there's a simplification of EU rules in organic production that could mean that, like you could increase or start exporting certain organic products. There's also, for example, a change in the MRLs for cabezandim and triophanat methyl, which apply to papayas and mangoes, and ethefon that apply to cashew nuts and coconuts. So it's important that you know that that MRL has changed, by when it's going to change, to make sure that when your products are sent to the European Union, they comply with these new MRLs. And we just published, I think like a week and a half ago, a new tracker for MRLs for pesticides. I will show it to you. So that will help you very much with knowing where you are with the MRLs. We also publish a Caribbean quarterly digest. So that's something that you could ask to the your authorities because we share it with them. We do webinars, which are public, so everyone can access. You just need to register. Last year, we did webinars on topics such as traces, packaging, and the prohibition of use of bisphenol A and PFAS in materials that are in contact with food. This year, we are starting with a webinar on the new EU rules on packaging and packaging waste. It's going to be taking place the 25th and the 26th of February. The webinars are in English, but they have translation to either French or Spanish. I think that one on the 26th is better for you because it's in the European afternoon, so your morning, and it has both English and Spanish. We also produce guides to help you better understand topics that require more explanations. So, for example, we have a guide for organic operators and groups, and another one on the deforestation regulation. So, one important thing to mention about Agrinfo is that all the services that we provide are for free. All the services are in this webpage, agrinfo.eu. I will take you there in a second. And that's where you find the registries, the summaries that I've been mentioning, webinars, not only the ones that will happen, but also the recordings to those that have already taken place. We always publish not only the recording of the webinar, but also the slides. And at the end of the webinars, we compile a Q&A that is put in there as well. You will find guides and explainers. We have another service that is called, it was called Ask Agrinfo, now it's called Agrinfo's Help Desk. So basically, you already read one of the registries and maybe a guide, and you attended a webinar or not, but you have a question and you don't seem to find an answer. You can send an email to us by filling a template. I will show it to you, and then we will come back to you with an answer. We have updates and that are shared in a newsletter that I will also show you how you can subscribe to this newsletter. The newsletter is also for free. So basically, we publish this newsletter every 2 weeks, which means that with the latest one, you will receive this registries, small summaries of what has happened in the past 2 weeks. And our webpage is translated to Spanish, Portuguese, and French. The original language, the language we work in, is English. The language is AI generated, except for the newsletters, because those are translated by us. So here, I don't know if you can see the web page. Can Nina or Allister confirm if you
Yes,
can?
Yes,
we can
yes,
see
we
it.
Okay,
can.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the web page. It's very friendly user. You find everything that I have been talking about in here. So as mentioned, the most important thing, of course, is please subscribe to the newsletter. So if you click here in subscribe, you just need to fill in this template and you will receive the newsletter every 2 weeks, more or less. Here is the help desk. So if you have any questions, just please fill in the template and it will come to us, and in a couple of days, you will receive an answer. Regarding webinars, you find them here at the top as well. So this is the one that we are planning for this year. If you click here, it gives you all the information. The English and Spanish is going to be on Thursday, 26 at 3 UTC. I think this one is the one that's more convenient for you, but have a look and just subscribe to whichever is easier or makes sense for you. And then if we go back to the webinars, as mentioned, you can find here all the other webinars, the one that we did last year. And if you click in them, you can see them in English and French, Portuguese, and Spanish. And this one, I don't know why, but normally it has the slides and the Q&A. So coming back to the homepage, even if you are not subscribed, you can still see the last newsletter here. So this one is the one in English. And if you subscribe, what you would receive is something like this, which is like a very friendly document that's telling you what's the latest. So first we go with events. So like the webinars that we are doing during this month. What are the new regulations or policies under development? And if any of these topics interest you, you just click on it and it will take you to the registry. So you can have a small summary, and maybe this information is more than enough for you, or you can see the full report in which it is the update, which are the impacted products, in this case is all of them, what is changing, why is changing, very important timeline. You know, by when is this is going to be published and by when is going to be applied. What are the recommended actions? Some background information. Where is this coming from? I want to know more, go to the resources. And then sources is the documents from which we got the information. We try to include sometimes, if it's relevant, of course, tables, so that it's easier for you to understand what's going on. In this case, it's about maximum residue levels of carbendazim. So you can see how it's changing, or the proposed change, the current one and the proposed change for different products, right? Going back to the main page. Here in Agrinfo publications, you can find the guides that I have been talking about. We have guides on different topics. For example, I already mentioned this one for organic operators and group, but also EU trade policy, forestation regulation, exporting aquaculture products, mineral oil, hydrocarbons in food, temporary increase of official control. So if you want to know more about these topics, you can read these documents. They're a little bit longer, maybe 20, 30 pages, but they do contain a lot of useful information in a very simple and clear language. We also have some explainers, which are documents that are a little bit longer than the regular registry, so they need a little bit more of space to develop the full topic. So for example, the ones that we have right now is the packaging rules explained, exporting aquaculture products to the European Union, and so, well, no, this one is a guide, that's not an explainer. I don't know it's here, but the EU packing rules explained, or EU official health certificates for exports to the EU. You can search for any of the resources here. So you can search by topic, you can search by product. So topics, you can select them here if you want to know more about animal health or feed additives or whatever. But if you already have something very specific in mind, because I know you export bananas, you just search for bananas and it will give you the latest changes in the regulations that affect bananas. So you can see there's a lot of MRLs that have been amended for very different substances, which is mainly what has been changing. And two things that I find very important, and these two are going to be the last ones, and then I will leave you alone, I promise, is the ongoing consultation. So, as some of you might know, the countries that are members of the WTO have the obligation to notify to the WTO, either the TBT committee or the SPS committee, any technical regulation that might have an impact on trade. So here you find this, again, made in small summaries like the ones I show you. So to make sure that people understand what is the change that the European Union is proposing and by when they can send comments to their national contact point. But the European Union also has their own system that is called Have Your Say. And a lot of people think that by covering the TBT and the SPS committees and the EPing system, they are safe. So it's also important here, you can see that they have two in Have Your Say. One is on plastics and the other one is on Unfair Trading Practice Directive. So it's important to keep in mind and to check this. And this is the last thing that we had added to the webpage, which is a pesticide emerald tracker. The European Union has a platform, it's a database, but it's based on the substance, which sometimes might be less intuitive than if we select by product. So we have done it by product. So if, for example, we put bananas again, why is not, wait, I think I misspelled it, sorry. There we go. So if we put that, it will provide us, you can see here already changed bananas. 10 changes have been made since last year, February last year, and 10 are under discussion. So the green ones is the ones that have already changed, although not all of them have been, the date of implementation is still in a couple of weeks, like 7th of March of this year, and it's for all these products. And then if you click here, it will take you to the EU database that I was mentioning on the MRLs on pesticides. So that will be very helpful. And then at the bottom, we have the upcoming one, the ones that are under discussion. So you have all these substances and the time from when is this current MRL. And then just for you to help you to understand why the European Union is proposing to make a change or has already made a change, and it's just pending implementation, you go here to see our little reports. And then you can see here which are all the impacted products, not only bananas, but what is changing, because we already know bananas is the product that we care about. So it's going to be reducing the MRLs for from 1.4 to 0.05 and to 0.03. Well, that's for potatoes. And the reason why, again, the timeline by when this is going to be applied. So it seems it's going to be applied from late 2026 to early 2027. And here you can make comments before, well, this one has passed, but before the 1st of February 2026. And again, a table to make things a little bit easier. I'll go back to the web page just to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I don't think I did. The most important thing for me is that you understand that this platform, this web page is for you. And the most important thing is that you find this information useful and that you use it, and that the information, and for you to be sure that the information that we are presenting you with is accurate. We work really hard to make sure that everything that we put in there is well done, accurate, and at the same time in a very simple, understandable language. So that's it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any question.
Hi, Andrea. I want to really express my appreciation for the presentation just delivered. It was quite informative and packed with a lot of wonderful nuggets. I really hope that the persons on the chat and the persons who look at the recording subsequently will benefit from this exercise that COLEAD has undertaken. I think it's really awesome. It's full of information. I feel as if I need to subscribe to be able to get some of that information, to be able to get some of that intelligence. I like how you all provide some guidance on how persons should proceed. And the website is generally packed with a lot of useful information. And just as Janet shared at the end, it's for the platforms for the stakeholders, it's for the exporters. And I want to make an appeal to you, the audience. You need to use this platform. You need to go to it, you need to share it with your colleagues and provide the feedback to COLEAD. But this is really useful, Andrea. I feel as if this could have been a webinar and a half,
Yes.
just looking at Agrinfo. And I feel this is so comprehensive, and it would be a pity if we do not latch onto this and fully take advantage of the work that you all have done. And I have to commend COLEAD and this effort. And I'm really happy that IICA and COLEAD can partner to really make this something that, between what Janet has presented and Agrinfo, I think we have a basket of tools and information that allows our agri-exporters to take advantage of the opportunities in the EU market. So folks, don't hesitate. Get on board. Nina, I think we have the website in the chat so that persons can actually play around with it. I think it's something that you have to play around with. Go back to the recording, look at stuff. But like any dashboard, like any platform, you have to practice using it. And we need to get the word out there. We need to promote this tool because it's going to be a game changer for our exporters who are interested in accessing the EU market. So thank you again, Andrea. It has been quite insightful. I want to move now at this point, and again, colleagues, save your questions or put some in the chat. We're going to open up the mics shortly. But before we do that, I would like to pass the mic again to my colleague Nina from COLEAD, who's going to proceed with an exercise to get us thinking, to get us moving a bit. So, Nina, back to you.
Thank you, Allister, and thank you, Janet and Andrea, for the wonderful presentations of the different tools. In order to, just before starting with the Q&A session, in order to make this session a bit more interactive and to engage with you, we have a little poll prepared. So it will appear on your screen and you can just choose your answer. So I'm gonna launch it. Okay. So you should see the first question. Can you just tell me if you see it?
I'm seeing it.
Okay. Okay. So the first question is, which sector do you represent? And you can choose between government or competent authority, private sector exporter producer, farmer fisher cooperative, research or academia, development partner NGO, or other. And we can see directly the answers. Can you also see the answers? Yes, right? I imagine you can. Or maybe you can't.
We can see the options that we've selected here.
But do you see the percentage of people? No, okay.
No,
Well,
not yet.
okay. it's gonna come afterwards. But the second question then is, what is your biggest challenge when exporting agri-food or fisheries products to international markets? We have some choices as well. So first one would be understanding changing regulations, meeting food safety standards, accessing reliable information, certification and inspection requirements, cost of compliance, or market access buyer requirements. So those are some challenges, and you have to pick one. Then we go on to the third question, which is, have you already used digital tools to support food safety or trade decisions? And you can choose between yes, regularly you use digital tools, or yes, you do, but only occasionally, or you don't, but you're interested, or you don't and you're actually unsure how they could help. Then we go into the fourth question, which is, how do you usually access regulatory or food safety information? Again, some multiple choices. First one would be the government authorities. Then it would be online databases or digital platforms, from consultants, from peer networks, or you actually struggle to find reliable information. And then we go on to the fifth and the last question, which is, how likely are you to use tools like Agrinfo and or the Caribbean food safety information tools in your work? Likely, not sure yet, or unlikely. I'm going to wait a bit more so that everyone answers. And then I will stop the poll and we can look at the answers together. I see people are still answering. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll now. And I think you're able to see the answers.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Well, so you're able to see the answers, which is interesting to see, kind of have an overview of who's in the audience today. So we have a majority of government and competent authorities, as well as the private sector, which is representing. So that's great. In terms of the biggest challenge when exporting agri-food or fishery products to international markets, we have the biggest one, which is meeting food safety standards. And then understanding changing regulations. So that's great because the tools we presented today are exactly trying to overcome those challenges. So most of you are not using digital tools to support food safety or trade decisions, but most of you are interested, I imagine. And you usually access regulatory or food safety information via online databases and digital platforms, as well as government authorities. And we can see that most of you, 83% of you, said that you're likely to use tools like Agrinfo and the Caribbean food safety information tools. So that's great. And hopefully this session has helped you understand a bit more how they work. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll now. This was just to give a bit of a context and background of the audience, and hopefully encouraging the conversation now. I will give the floor back to Allister, but as Allister said before, you are able to raise your hand, and then we will, you can ask your question directly. Allister.
Thank you, Nina. While persons are preparing to ask questions, I noted that there were two questions in the chat. I believe they were partially answered, but I would still throw them out. And this question is coming from Suriname, and the question was, should companies in agri-food production be ISO certified if they wish to export. So I want to put that to Janet and to Andrea. Can you provide a bit more details on the response that was put in the chat?
Hi, Allister. As Benedicte had responded, it is dependent on the market that you're going into and what are their requirements. So I think that would be the most critical thing to find out, those details, and yeah, and then take it from there.
Okay. Any other feedback from either Benedicte or Andrea?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I totally agree with Janet. It depends on what the market requirements are. Some might be common to several markets. ISO standards, for example, are widely used, but they might require like ISO plus something else, and the plus might change from market to market. So you need to know exactly what they are requiring before you try to export to another country.
And I suppose this is a follow-up. Someone would have asked, should we have global food safety certification versus the various regional and private sector type certifications? I think that's good. That's something that a lot of persons may want to put before us, but I want to ask the team if they have any feedback on it. I know there was a response in the chat, but for the general audience, I'm putting it out there again.
Oh, for the general audience, okay.
But the presenters, feel free to provide your insights.
Janet, well, okay, I'll go. I mean, I think it's wishful thinking to think that we could have like a universal international certification thing that will work for everyone. But we need to remember that countries have the right to decide their own rules. And although we have international rules that set the basis, at the end of the day, countries have the right to deviate from them and ask for things that are a little bit more stricter as long as they are based in science or technological knowledge. So countries can decide what level of risk or what level of safety, if we say it from the other side, they feel comfortable with. So I honestly think that thinking about that is wishful thinking, but because of the different levels of development in the world and the different levels or how comfortable we feel with different levels of risk is something that is difficult to achieve in practice.
Thank you for that, Andrea. Anything from you, Janet or Benedicte? I know Benedicte is on also.
Just echoing what Andrea said. I mean, I'm on the same page, so I won't take up time to repeat. So yeah, definitely. My views are on that level too.
If I may come in just to complement. Hello, Allister. Hello, Janet. Hello, Andrea. To complement, you've got the legal requirement from each country or each region. For example, in European Union, we do have let's say common regulation, but you've got also the commercial requirement, meaning depending on where you want to sell and to whom you want to sell. A supermarket in UK will not request the same kind of certification than another one in UK or in Europe. So you do have the legal base, which is the same for everybody. And you've got also your, let's say, commercial requirement. And some supermarkets are more stringent than others, and some markets are less regarding than others as well. So you've got, in fact, two levels of requirement that you need to check. And the legal one is a basic, of course, and then you need to know where you want to sell your produce and what they will request from you depending on which produce it is.
Thank you for that, Benedicte. I want to, at this point, open up for questions from the audience. While persons are raising their hands, let me just throw out something that I was thinking about. You know, I always like the idea of digital tools I think it's the way we need to go to give persons access to information. But somehow, while these platforms are there are times we don't utilize them. So I'm wondering, how do we ensure that persons will use the platforms? What can we do to get that buy-in? I hear both Janet and Andrea saying we need feedback. It's for you. So I'm just wondering, maybe Janet, Andrea, the other colleagues online, how do we make this more available, accessible, build awareness? What do we need to do to make it something that's of value? Because it's tremendous resources. A lot of effort went into putting these mechanisms in place. And a lot of times persons say, we need these sort of platforms, but what do we do to ensure the buy-in from you, the beneficiaries?
Well, there's a lot of outreach on our side. We try to present the tools to as many people as possible, but we also rely on you that, like or everyone in this meeting that has already seen the platform and how they work, that you share it with your friends and tell them, look, we have these resources that they are available, they're really good, we should look into them. But it's a constant, outreach, networking, trying to make people aware that the tools exist. Our fire, our proof of fire is that the information that we provide is actually useful, and that's when people come back, right? If they wouldn't find the information useful, then they would never come back. So yeah, it's also that spreading the word by the users, which we don't know. We lose control, right, of how, but that's the way. So just please help us and share with your friends.
Anything from you, Janet?
Just echoing the importance of us having awareness campaigns on a more frequent level. But in addition, I think a lot of it is really dependent on the users spreading the word for us. Because coming from us as the people developing is one thing, but as a user, when you can be very concrete in saying how well these tools have assisted you, I think that is a greater incentive for people to utilize it, and what is important also is to get feedback from the people that are using it. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for sharing, Andrea and Janet. I will go to the participants listing now, the audience. I see there's a question by Adele, and then there's Adele Ramos, and then there's a question by Alicia Blake. So let me go to Adele first. Adele?
Thank you very much, Allister. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to share a little bit more about the Fisheries Food Safety Hub, if I may, and to also contribute to what our colleagues have said regarding using the platform.
Sure,
Is that
Adele.
okay? All right, great. Thank you. So here I'm projecting the platform that was developed a few years ago. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So we have items categorized based on types, and we ensured that we made this very relevant, not just because of the content categories, but also providing information that's very valuable. For example, information about health checks, regional labs, and certification. These statistics are actually going to be updated very soon with newer information, but here people can also access, for example, information on labs in the region, and then information on certification, fact sheets, information across the value chain, and of course, subscribe for updates, right? So the great news is that this hub was developed a few years ago, but because IICA, through EU-funded project, is developing a broader Caribbean SPS hub, this is now forming a part of a broader architecture, right? And so this interface that you're seeing right now is actually 90% migrated within the new framework that Dr. Lawrence shared earlier. And so it will be more of a cohesive system where it's interlinked with something that's more broader SPS based. One of the things that is built into that architecture is the ability for users to actually share information, because you know that we're constrained in terms of having staff, having personnel to dedicate a lot of time to making sure that the information is current, that the site actually continues to grow in terms of what it offers. And so there's going to be an opportunity for users, if they have access to information, things they want to share, to be featured on the hub. That's, of course, within the scope, right? It has to be Caribbean SPS related. Then they can also submit that information. Of course, it's held for vetting and review. And then once it's cleared, then it can be shared via the overall SPS hub. So that's one of the ways where we would want to encourage participation. That's a part of buy-in, right? So that our broader community can contribute to the growth and the sustainability of the hub as well. So that's what I wanted to contribute. Any questions?
Adele,
Okay,
let me thank you. Go ahead, sorry.
I'll just unshare then. I'll unshare.
Well, let me thank
All
you for
right.
that, Adele. I hope persons may have questions for you. While persons are thinking and generally about the other information that was shared, let me ask Alicia to present her question or comment for the audience and the presenters.
Hi, good day. Are you all hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, I was the person who asked if it could have a generalized certification for a global exports, right? Just like it have City and Guilds is accepted across the board globally, and Oxford, Stanford, it have a high standard. That is where my mindset was at. Instead of have one for FDA, one for Canada, one for EU, you have one to cover everybody. And that where my mindset was have. Yes, it's wishful thinking, but I believe if it have City and Guilds, Oxford, Stanford, Harvard, it could be done. Because if everybody could accept these certification globally, why not this, right? And the other suggestion I had for interest in the platform itself is to bring certification access to this platform, what we're putting out here, and have people that would definitely would generate interest in attending the platform to get certified, one, and to bring the realization of food safety in a regional aspect in terms of the respective regions this is targeting. So this is where my mind is at in terms of the suggestion of having the platform not just as a platform for access, which is great, but having the platform as an educational platform and to bring it to the reality of food safety by offering the certification for the people who are interested in this. And that's my contribution.
Let me come back to Janet, Andrea, as well as Benedicte, in terms of the comment by Alicia, in particular with the focus on opportunities for certification via the portals. Ladies?
Okay. Thanks a lot, Alicia, for the question. I just wanted to go back to in terms of the global standards. As we know, Codex Alimentarius sets international standards, and typically countries try to align themselves with these international standards. However, as you know, there are countries that set national standards and private entities that set their standards as well. So there is, of course, globally a thrust for harmonization, but at the same time, countries have the right to establish their own standards for the import of goods and even, producing goods locally. In terms of these portals, addressing the fact of certification, what we are attempting to do in some of these portals is provide links to certification bodies. So you can go on the portal, but then it will take you to the particular institute that may offer that service, that offers that service for certification. But in terms of being an institution that offers certification, meaning IICA or COLEAD, that would not be possible. But of course, we can, on these portals, have these resources that people can now go to be able to obtain certification. Those are just my thoughts.
Thank you for that, Janet. Any feedback from Andrea or Benedicte, particularly with respect to the opportunities for certification, as Janet would have also alluded to?
In our case, we are merely an information program. So we do not make that link with the certifications, also because, I don't know, it would be maybe a conflict of interest to, like provide some with some kind of approval when we don't really work with them anyway. So that's not on our webpage. But I wanted to address a question from Heather Farrell. She asked if it was possible to paste the links to the Agrinfo and the other platforms in their government websites. In our case, yes, we'll be more than happy that the Agrinfo link is in one of the ministry's websites, but it's not for us to decide. It's for the ministries. If they want to have it, again, we will be thrilled. So maybe you should ask your relevant ministry to see if they would like to engage with us and have a link so that anyone that is looking for information within the webpage of the ministry could have this resource available.
I see Benedict is ready to come on, but let me just follow up on that. And I think what Andrea just shared, I think that with IICA having offices in the various countries, maybe, Janet, this is something we can work with COLEAD on to engage the ministries to share the links and ask them to attach it to their platforms, their websites, and not just the ministries of trade or agriculture, but also the export promotion agencies and even manufacturer or exporters associations. We can provide the links to them so that they could share to their membership and their various stakeholders. So I'm saying not only government agencies, but each country in most instances has an export promotion agency, and that may be a good option for us as well. Let me pass to Benedict. Benedict, you have any comment?
Yeah, I can you hear me? Yeah, I just wanted to share, and I put that in the chat. As I mentioned, there is an initiative for the, let's say, benchmark of different standard in food safety. So it's not on the legal aspect, but more on the private standard aspect. And these initiatives is really for to try to have a benchmark of the main food safety scheme. So for those who are familiar with IFS or BRC, there is an agreement that those standards are benchmark. So of course it depends for which value chain and so on. But if you check on GFSI website, you will have the table to compare those different standards. That means that if you are FSSC 22000 or IFS certified, you can go to your client and say, look, you're asking me BRC, but in fact, this is equivalent, so I don't need to have the two certificates. This one is equivalent to the other one. This is an official benchmark. It doesn't exist for all the certification scheme, unfortunately, and for the moment only limited to food safety, because there are, of course, other requirements. just check this on the website, and then you will have all the information on this Global Food Safety Initiative. And if you have any questions, please get back to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benedicte. I don't see any more questions, but I know in the chat, someone had engaged Adele and asked, what are the timelines that are relevant for the full migration of the hub that you would have shared? And Adele responded and said that the Fisheries Food Safety Hub will be integrated into the Caribbean SPS Hub, which Janet would have shared with us, and that they're aiming to go live in the next 2 months. So we can stay tuned for that. And I know that there will be ongoing sensitization programs and efforts by Agrinfo as well as the Caribbean Food Safety Hub. So this is just to whet your appetite, because we really want the buy-in, and we're getting ideas regarding aligning the various links to the government sides and the different agencies. So we're excited, and we really want persons to utilize the tools that are presented. It's for you, it's for your benefit. So we need your feedback as well as to its usefulness. Any more questions or comments? We are quite on time, and I'm happy for that. But let me ask if there's any more questions or any final comments before we wrap up. Okay, if there are no more questions or comments, I really want to thank the presenters for their participation this morning. I know that we did come to both Andrea and Janet to get this going. The partnership between IICA and COLEAD, we're always trying to find innovative and useful ways to really support trade and agribusiness development in the region, and generally through our agribusiness series to the African territory, the Pacific, and the EU. So we're excited to include this sensitization session as part of our overall partnership, and we hope to continue doing additional work. But Andrea and Janet, thank you for giving up your time to share the different portals, and we look forward to getting more information going forward. And we've committed to sharing the links with the various ministries and through other means to get the word out, to get feedback for you, to get buy-in and uptake of the different platforms. And I want to really express my gratitude for the support of Nina from COLEAD and her team, UEFA, and of course, Jeremy Knotts, the head of COLEAD. We're really appreciative of the collaboration and this opportunity to work together to continue sharing with our stakeholders. And of course, to the audience, we are grateful for your participation, for you giving up your time. And in some territories, it's a holiday today. I wish you all a happy Lenten season. And before I close, it would be remiss of me to not recognize the contribution of the different agencies that have also tagged on, the CRFM, of course, to COLEAD for developing the Agrinfo site, to IICA for the development of the Caribbean Food Safety Portal, and our friends in the EU. The EU has been very instrumental in funding the EU CRFM IICA Fishery Food Safety Portal, and this was developed under the 11th EDF SPS Measures Project. And of course, the EU IICA CAFSA CRFM Sanitary and Phytosanitary Hub, which Janet would have shared on, was also developed under the EU Food Security, or rather separately under the EU Food Security SPS Measures Project. It's a separate intervention, and we are really appreciative of the support and the ongoing backing of the European Union. Ultimately, what we want to do, we want to, as Janet said, navigate the trade space. We want to be able to capture opportunities in international markets. And in this case, we're focusing on the EU. So this has been a really useful session. And we said we would finish by 12:30, and we're on point. Most times we're struggling to keep up with time, but today we have been really excellent with the time. Thank you again to the presenters. Thank you for the audience. And of course, my counterpart, Nina and UEFA. We are grateful to the IICA team that's all supportive of these ventures and these initiatives. Thank you. And I want to wish you all a fantastic rest of the week. And let's use these tools, get the word out, spread it, go back to the recording. This is not just a one-time thing. Repetition facilitates learning. So subscribe to the different platforms and take advantage of these opportunities to access the overseas markets. Let's make our food safer for our consumers. Thank you. Oh, you missed me. Nina, do you have any final words?
No, thank you, Allister. You said it all. You said it all. Thanks everyone for joining. And as you said, let's use all these tools. Thank you.
Let me use this as a plug to say that our next agribusiness series will be in March. So you all will be getting some more information on that very soon. Correct, Nina? We're going to send out a save the date.
Yeah.
And get that word out to everyone.
Soon. Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. And please feel free to visit our Agri Innovators site to get more information. Thank you.